What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris, this is 4K Motoring, and today we're going to compare the new Cardo Packtalk Edge to the Cardo Packtalk Bold. The Bold has been one of the leading helmet comm systems for motorcycles for a while now. It's the one we used when we did our Iron Butt ride and our trip out to Texas. Got a lot of feedback on that and got a lot of testing done with it. We're going to try out the new Packtalk Edge to see how that really compares, what the differences are, and if you should upgrade from one to the other. So this is the new Cardo Packtalk Edge. It's their latest iteration of their DMC communicators, and it represents the second generation of DMC products, processors, and whatnot from Cardo. I've had a lot of use now for the last couple of years on the Packtalk Bold with the JBL speakers. Purchased that right when it came out. And many miles, many charging cycles, many updates, and a lot of different usage. And I gotta tell you, overall, my general impressions have been very positive. Now, I've come from a couple different comm systems over the generations. Started with an Interphone F5 MC back years ago that had a single Bluetooth channel. You couldn't do intercom and listen to music at the same time. Upgraded to the Sena 20S when it came out because it had the 2-channel Bluetooth, and that was one of the big things it was supposed to do. Made a couple other promises, and that ended up being one of the glitchiest units I've ever tried. It was just problem after problem. It never worked right. It was just super annoying. Moved up to the Packtalk Bold with the JBL speakers, and overall, very positive experience. Had some issues with pairing or refusing to pair where it had to be reset once or twice throughout the time I've had it. But for the most part, it's been very easy to work with, and it just works every time. And I think that's probably my most important thing at this point. It is now 2022. If electronics are coming out, especially something you're going to rely on, it just has to work every time. That's it. The new Packtalk Edge promises even easier connection, communication, and better networking through their second generation processor, different algorithms, second generation dynamic mesh communication system. It's supposed to be even more refined, more solid, which is the key part, and hopefully easier to live with. These things are not cheap, and they are becoming harder and harder to find. So my first question is this really better than the old Packtalk Bold? And if it is it good enough to justify upgrading at the increased cost that it brings? For years, this has been the device that I've used and come to rely on, and it's been pretty fantastic. Now, the Packtalk Bold has had pretty solid communication and pretty easy pairing, and it's kept kind of a basic system with the buttons and the roller that is carried over to our new Edge. Obviously, it had its own antenna. It did stick out a good ways from the helmet itself. Had a clip mount that was not difficult to use at all. It was able to be charged while using it, but also basically didn't need to do that. On our Iron Butt rides, 1,000 miles in group chat with music playing, every time we stopped for fuel, those 15 to 20 minute fuel stops, was able to put it on the battery bank and charge it up, and it never went dead the entire time, which was pretty impressive. Very rarely have I ridden with the Packtalk and it ever had it die on me. Those few times, it's mostly been because it's been quite a while since I charged it last, and it gives you a low battery warning for a while before it dies, so it's hard to gauge exactly when it's going to, and that is one of the updates they did with the Edge to make that system a little bit easier. Because the Cardo Connect app works so well, it allows you to pair directly to the Packtalk from your phone, use the app, and control a bunch of settings for the Packtalk Bold. A bunch of the FM presets you can do, the audio settings. You can do a lot from that app. Problem is, on something like the Ducati with the TFT display here, it has its own Bluetooth, and it allows you to control something like a phone or the comms unit all from the bike. And in doing so, it has to act as a sort of middleman in this process where you pair your headset to the bike and then the bike to your phone, and that's how you get the bike to interact with it. Because I've done that, I've not done the dual pairing function on this unit because it seemed like it was a lot for it to deal with. So I've had it only one or the other and haven't gotten to use that Cardo Connect app as long as I've been hooking it into the bike itself. Hasn't been a big issue, but that's something that they say is pretty well solved with the Edge, where you can hook it to two different sources, being your phone and a GPS, or your phone and the bike in this case, and it should work pretty well. So I'll set the Packtalk Bold aside. You can see this is the size of the unit overall. And it's got the pins in the front. It's got a clip mounting system. The micro USB port is underneath. It has a little flap that is sometimes hard to get closed, but not too terrible. The buttons on it are the same as the new one, where there is your intercom button, your phone button, your media button, a roller that also clicks. We're going to go ahead and unbox the Edge here. Comes in a nice box, as most Cardo units do. And this is going to be one of the dual packs. This allows you to get these units at a little bit cheaper price than you would just buying a single unit. If you have a friend or someone that rides with you, this is always a good way to go just to save a little bit of money. They're a little bit more angular than something like the Packtalk Bold was, but we can see our overall size. We lose the back pieces a little bit on them, so it's a little bit more sleek, but the dimensions are very similar. Very, very similar. A little bit thinner, but otherwise the same. In the box, we're going to have, of course, a sticker that denotes that it is a quality product. We have our user's guide, which tells us to download the Cardo Connect app. And we've got a couple instructions, warranty cards, that sort of thing, pocket guides for both, all included in the box. We've got two sets of helmet mounts, basically. These are all the accessories we need to mount to a helmet. Obviously this is a dual pack, so there's two of them. In there we should have our JBL speakers, our mounting hardware for those. We've got our sticky mount, a clip mount, some alcohol prep pads, some spacers for the speakers, some Velcro sticky pads. We've got our charging cord. This is a USB-A to USB-C charging cord that's included. We've got our dock for the Cardo. Now this is pretty cool. Unlike the snap mount on the Packtalk Bold, the new Edge has a magnet mount that just very securely snaps in with a little tab in front to release, slide forward, and take it off. Is that a big deal? No, but is it kind of cool? Yes. And then along with the wired mic we have already in the box, we do have the boom mic for something like this with a modular design. So we have fully removed our Packtalk Bold from our AGV Sport Modular helmet. And what we notice is that the boom mic appears identically the same. No notable changes to that from the new one to the old one. Our JBL speakers that we had in the Packtalk Bold appear to be very similar to the JBLs in the new Cardo Edge. So I'm not going to remove the covering on them, but we're going to go ahead and see. Almost 10 mils with the Velcro and foam covering on it. 9.9 for the old one. And the new one, 10.01. That probably accounts for the overall age and degradation of the foam more than anything. As we look at our diameters here, our new Packtalk Edge speakers are 40 millimeters, and our old ones are also 40 millimeters. So I'm guessing these are the same speakers.
Whereas the non-JBL speakers are 32 millimeters. There is an update available right out of the box for the Packtalk Edge, and it is done wirelessly through the Cardo Connect app.
I gotta say the audio quality is actually quite improved. This is still the same type of speakers that is in the old ones, but the audio profile, I guess, from this Packtalk unit definitely sounds a whole lot better. For those of you that may know, my last multi-shot of the 1200S 2015 had Bluetooth, but it didn't work that well. This V4 has Bluetooth that works very well. The screen mirroring kind of not so much, but at least the Bluetooth does. So we're going to go ahead and get into our secondary pairings. So we're going to pair. I'm going to put this in pairing mode. So it says phone pairing. We're going to roll the dial backwards, and now it says bike pairing. And we've got it right there, Moto 50. There we go. We are now fully paired. So let's see if this will control music. So we still have full control over functions from the Packtalk Edge coming from our phone, but we now also have the ability to update it. So far, I'm pretty impressed with this Packtalk Edge unit. It has been very easy to set up, and so far, everything has just actually worked, which again is one of my key criteria for one of these units. As I mentioned, recently, although I've had the Packtalk Bold for several years, the recent trip we did to Austin, Texas and back as a group, including an iron butt ride, has really shown me a couple things about the Packtalk Bold that were not really shortcomings, but things that could be improved. And although we had a little bit of issue connecting at first, pairing everything, the biggest thing that we noticed was the quick charging ability. The ability to charge these things up quickly while on gas station stops or very short stops to get enough talk time basically to keep riding. What this Edge does and what it promises is USB-C style fast charging. And what Cardo says is you should be able to get in 20 minutes, a 20-minute charge from this thing should get you 2 hours of talk time, which is obviously the most power-hungry type of activity that these comm systems do. So I'm hopeful that we can actually realize that. The Packtalk Bold still got a decent charge out of a 20-minute stop, something like that, but it definitely wasn't, quite to those levels of guaranteed 2 hours talk time. Speaking of battery, one of the other things this unit does that I think is superbly helpful is when turning it off, it speaks to you and tells you the battery percentage remaining. So as we turn it off, see if we can hear it. As it just told us, battery status was 75% and turned off. Very helpful. That's when you remember to charge your device once you turn it off. So I'm glad they did this. I think that's a cool little feature.
So I've been riding with the Packtalk Edge now for about a week, and I've gotten to use this both in two-up riding and single riding, and here are the takeaways that I can tell you right away. First, the audio quality is absolutely better with this system. I don't believe the speakers are really any different than your Packtalk Bold speakers, so if you have a Packtalk Bold, you don't necessarily need to remove those from your helmet. You can just very quickly just replace the actual communication unit itself. It will plug into your microphone and to your speakers, but the algorithm in the unit itself is significantly better. You get much better volume and much better quality sound, which has been very nice. The other thing I'll say is that most notably the connection speed has improved drastically with this unit. Both in the pairing time from Bluetooth to the bike or your phone is much faster, but the connection between unit and unit, it's just a lot faster and a lot smoother. And that is, after a week, something I've absolutely recognized. So let's go ahead and answer those two questions I posed at the beginning of this video. Is the Packtalk Edge any good, or is it worth upgrading from the Packtalk Bold? It is definitely good. If the Packtalk Bold was one of the top units for the last couple of years, this has definitely taken it to a new level and is even better, for sure, without a doubt. There's no question in my mind, the Edge is now even better than the Packtalk Bold was. As for the question of is it worth upgrading, that's a much more difficult question to answer. What it's giving you over the Packtalk Bold, especially with the JBL speakers, not the normal speakers, but the JBL speakers, is not a whole lot, to be honest. It's giving you better versions of everything the Packtalk Bold has to offer, but it's not giving you anything new. You're not getting any added range. The battery, although it charges faster, it stops, it's really not any bigger. And the unit itself, while it connects better and it takes some of that frustration away you might face with the Packtalk Bold on occasion, it doesn't really change the game in any way. It doesn't add anything new. So in that respect, I don't know if it's worth the $300-ish extra dollars
pick one up if you've already got a Packtalk Bold. If you've got anything lower or older than the Packtalk Bold, I would absolutely say go with the Packtalk Edge over the Bold at this stage. The price difference between the two, I think the Edge is worth it, but if you've already got the Bold, don't switch. So that's my verdict. Let me know what you guys think, if you guys have used this system, or if you guys have used any of the CNET systems, the 50S, or any of their mesh systems. I'd love to hear how they compare, especially if you use both of those systems, the Cardo and the CNET together. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on them. Overall, I am very happy with this unit. Like I said, I don't think it's worth upgrading from a Packtalk Bold if you have one, but if you're deciding between the two, the Edge is without a doubt a better unit. As always, appreciate you guys watching 4K Motoring. I'm Chris. We'll catch you next time.